What's going on, AfterBuzzers? You are watching the Masters of Sex After Show, Season 4, Episode 4, Coats and Keys. It's a juicy one, so stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
I'm into it. This is the live show that's going to happen. So here.
This is like, I feel like where's my flag that he
This song is super appropriate. So we made the best music choice tonight.
I'm really serious. I'm going to go back and make a playlist
For all
from
the
this
songs we
season.
used to do.
The sex playlist.
Yes.
Now I got the keys.
This will be track
Intermission.
4. Intermission. Yeah, take a break. Get some electrolytes and get back to
We're going to
it.
sell mixtapes, guys.
All right, guys. Welcome to the Masters of Sex After Show. This episode is Coats and Keys, which is why we chose.
Because we got the keys
Because we got the keys, and apparently so does everybody else in this episode. I'm your main host, Olivia Gabaree, and you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at @thereal_O_G.
Hi, and I'm Ryann Graham. You can find me on Twitter at Ryann Graham, and I won't say the 2 A's.
And I'm your favorite host tonight, Domonique. You can find me on all social media at DomoniqueP_ESQ. Bam.
Got it.
And Ryan's handle has 2 Ns.
It does, but I
We were giving him
can't say
mad
that I had 2 N's. I'm
hard time
sorry.
today for his long intro, but
It's
today's episode is so good.
It's
It made
very
me
good.
fall in love with Masters of Sex
Don't
for
you think?
a totally different reason today.
I think this is one of the most entertaining
for
episodes
sure.
all around.
I was
like,
sleepy an
wow.
hour and a half ago.
And then you watched it, it's like,
I got the keys.
I was just gonna, yes, it gave you all
Yeah.
the keys.
Major key alert.
I feel like this episode, it brought everybody together.
Yeah.
It came
Yeah.
full circle this time, you know?
Loved it.
Yeah.
So
from
into
the
it.
very beginning
Yes.
of the episode with Lester's butt tooted in the air, I was like, this is going to be good.
Yep.
But in the beginning, was anyone else confused? I remember watching it and being like, did I
kinda
miss an
confused.
episode?
I didn't get
I
it.
legitimately was like, I must have missed something. I don't know what's going on. It was just like, they hit us with all this stuff and then 24 hours earlier.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, finally.
Yeah,
Thank
but
you
luckily
for
for
that.
us, it
It
all
came full
connected
circle.
at
It was
the end.
beautiful, and I loved how they put all that in there. It was pretty good.
It was so clever.
Yeah,
I
it's to the
thought,
point where
cleverly
I'm
written.
gonna go back and see who actually wrote this actual episode
Oh, yeah.
because it was that good.
It's very good. Shout out to the writer.
Shout out to the writer of this particular episode for Masters of Sex. You outdid yourself.
Oh, for sure.
Outdid yourself.
For sure.
Okay, so as
Where do we start?
Now, who do we want to even start with today?
I don't even know where to start, but all I know is
I think we have to start with Lester.
Lester's booty in the air.
Booty in the
Wow.
air. Kudos
Lester.
to you, Lester, for the pale butt. We are so into it, and we hope it wasn't a body double.
wonder.
Lester is having the worst time of his
Poor
life.
thing. Okay.
Weren't you sad for him? I was
so
a little
I mean,
heartbroken
if
for
you guys
Lester.
haven't been watching the season, Lester is in a horrible marriage.
Yeah, why are they still together? And where is she, BT Dub?
He needs to give up the dream. She's with Corky. She's with Corky.
Yeah, Corky,
Yeah.
the balloon animal.
Yeah, but
artist.
I mean, I feel like their relationship has been on the rocks for a long time.
Yeah.
So we all remember Jane and Lester had this beautiful love affair after he so amazingly shot her masturbating.
Right.
And Jane wanted to go to LA to be a star.
Star.
So
And
romantic.
He wanted to be a star too, though. I mean, it wasn't just
they
her.
moved out to LA
they're
together,
together.
which I'm pretty sure there are a lot of couples that we know that have moved out to LA
Yeah.
together
And
they'll
didn't
never
stay
live
together.
But that's a whole nother show. And
is.
so Lester comes back,
Right.
but Jane does not come back with him.
Poor thing.
And they end up married. And I think there was always some tinge of Lester feeling some kind of way because of that,
Mm-hmm.
which we don't really get to see a lot of the ins and out details of their marriage, but you can kind of tell that there's always this little twinge. I remember, was it late last season where she kind of comes in a huff and they give her the job to read the mail just to give her something to do.
Yeah.
So I think they've always kind of been on the rocks. And so he's talking basically the whole episode about how Jane is sleeping with Corky.
And but I feel like that's how their marriage has been the
entire
time. It's
time,
always
yes.
his point of view, which I think is kind of cool.
Right.
To kind of see you are allowed to create your own interpretation of what the story is, because Lester kind of gives you his tidbit here and there, and it's like a side story, but you really never know is Lester like, and it's always like, oh, I'm sorry, Lester, like we just find tidbits about his life, and it's like, but you
so feel
sad.
for him, like, because he's such a cutie.
Bad for him.
Just give him a little hug or something.
Right.
He's just
some loving, but he got it.
Yeah, he did. So he's going around this party like, oh, boo-hoo me, and it's like, dude, he's the worst guy at a party. Like, you don't want to hear someone talking about him.
He's the worst kind of guy, but him and Betty were so, like, the way, they just seem best friends, you know? Yeah. The way they were, like, interacting with each other, it's like, they had this conversation many times before.
Because when you're dealing with Bill and Virginia in an office, you have to find the other sane person in the office, and it's just those two.
So Betty and Lester have this, like, great relationship that they just, I don't know, they find comfort in each other, I feel.
Or they've told each other the same story a million times.
Yeah, but they're like, you know, they're venting to each other, and they're like, okay, I support you, even though I heard this 600 times before, you know? But, so, aside from Lester's booty in the air, we entered the episode with Virginia waking up. She couldn't find her keys, and the only thing I saw was a man with a wedding ring giving her the keys, and I was like, oh,
she's
back to her old ways. Right? Good old Virginia.
And then it wasn't until the next scene where, we saw her walk out of the house, and then we saw Art and Nancy also in the same house, and we were all like, oh my God, that's their
Art.
house.
Yeah,
like, why are they there? She slept with Art, like, automatically, because
it's Virginia.
You know how Virginia do. Like,
she could have been at a hotel bar back in Vegas at Hugh's house. You never know with Virginia.
No, she's an interesting character. I do love her, but she makes it hard to love her. She makes it so hard.
Not only for us, but apparently for every other man in this world.
100%. But ironically, I guess they all love her more than she loves them. According to Virginia, her words.
I was like, somebody don't think their ish stinks.
No, she does. Obviously not.
Whatever. No. Sometimes you just gotta roll with it, right? It's like, you know, girl.
But there were so many good moments in this episode. So once we finally see that, you know, Virginia's in this house and we don't really know whose house it is, and she's kind of stumbling out, she looks to the couch, and at the time we really don't know like what that significance is like really going to be down the episode. And then the episode kind of like does a rewind, and it goes from the beginning to kind of set the stage of like how she ended up having this horrible walk of shame, like with the raccoon eyes, which is never a girl's morning after.
But her walk of shame wasn't really a walk of shame. So let's just dive right into it.
I mean, anytime you wake up in the same clothes you had on last night with raccoon eyes, it's a walk of shame.
Is it a walk of shame?
To your neighbors, yes. Because they don't know why
reality.
you look.
That's true.
Thank you.
Perception is reality. Got it.
What 100%. A sin. Okay, so before we even know all of this, we're just automatically making assumptions, but it brings us back to the beginning of the story.
Right.
So they are entering this party, which we didn't know at the time, but was a swingers party.
Right.
And did they know it at the time?
No, they were all invited to this party and were told to bring a friend.
Right.
But no one understood. What, like, so because you can see when
no
Nancy,
one from the office.
No one from the office. Everyone outside of it knew.
knew.
But because you can see when Nancy greets Virginia and Libby, because Virginia brings Libby, she's like, "Oh, you brought a female friend." She goes,
looks super offended
because it was gonna mess up the numbers.
Yeah.
That's what she was thinking.
I was looking at Nancy like, how dare you be offended at me bringing whoever I choose when you didn't even tell me what you assigned me
exactly.
for.
Well, and then beforehand they were in the elevator, and Virginia was like, Lester, you're coming with me. Like, apparently I have to bring a friend, so I guess you could come. Yeah. And then once I saw Libby and Virginia walk in together, I was like, ooh.
I guess I knew that they kind of had that moment last episode where they reconciled, but I felt like that was a very quick jump. Like, it was. I was like, oh, okay, we're friends going to a party together? That was weird to me.
A huge jump.
And they were lying about it, too, to Bill. Like, both of them were, like, keeping a secret from him. It was kind of cool, like, girl power, you know? You guys are... It's nice, but it's bizarre.
Yeah, it just felt it felt very fast to me.
Yeah.
Like, weird is the wrong word, but I was just like, oh, okay, we're going to a party together. Like, I feel like I can have a reconciliation with someone, but I'm not going to a party with you. Yeah, like, not the next day.
I mean, okay, let's pause. Me and my group of best friends, we can have a falling out, and tomorrow we're going to still be like
Did your best friend sleep with your man?
Well, but what I'm saying is that Libby doesn't really have friends.
I guess.
You know, especially girlfriends.
Valid.
I mean, her last girlfriend ended up in a vegetative state. So, and I have to try not to laugh because you guys know I have a really horrible
sense of humor.
So I feel like Virginia was like her only like real friend.
And she has been there through
it was easy for her to bounce back into that relationship because she realized that at the end of the day they were both like effed up in that entire situation. So I'm not really surprised that they bounced back to like going to the movies together.
Right. Yeah. You could tell Libby was super excited.
Yeah.
I mean, even when she thought they were going to the movies, she like got rid of the kids, you know, and then for her to be at the party, I mean, you could tell she was into it, right?
Well, especially when the lawyer showed up. Well, or that I think that kind of threw her.
Or the random friend Mike with the J that he let her hit.
Okay, so do you guys want to talk about Mike? So his name was
Mike Schaefer.
Mike Schaefer.
Oh yeah, he's gonna.
So Mike and not Mike. So Libby and Virginia enter the party, and Nancy greets them, and Nancy's kind of really excited to introduce Mike to Virginia.
Right.
And as soon as Virginia says who she's married to, Dan, he knows Dan.
Yeah, he's, we're having
dinner
next week.
And so it's funny to me because it's like, you know, last episode, Bill finds out basically that, you know, Virginia never really got married.
Right.
And it's like her lies are starting to catch up with her, but she's like so hell-bent on keeping up this lie.
And at this point, what for what?
No.
And I think you can see her struggling throughout this whole party to keep up this lie with everyone she's talking to. And it's like, literally, Virginia, let it go.
Give up the dream, girlfriend.
Right. Let it go.
I love how Betty like pulls her aside and she's just like, yo, like, why? At this point, like, you know, when this Mike character comes back from New York,
that this is gonna
your secret's going to be out. They're going to tell Nancy and Art. They're going to tell Bill, although Betty doesn't know that, you know, Bill already knows. And she even then is like, I'm going to do it. Like, it doesn't seem like there's any type of urgency in telling the truth for Virginia, which gets me back to the point that I was making last week, that Virginia needs help of some kind because I feel like she's deranged.
And she clearly, she has a warped sense of reality.
If we were friends, I would tell her, like, girl, get help.
Really, I have a list of like
therapist she slept with, real help.
Like, I thought she was gonna I thought it was pretty obvious that she was lying because she was lost for words.
She's so flustered.
She's like, oh, I'm going to New York. Mike,
and then Libby's like,
oh.
Then he's like, but you're gonna cook. We're not gonna go
and
eat. And Libby's like, you don't cook.
She did. Libby called her out so quick. You're gonna cook.
With no shame at all. She's like,
girl, bye. Y'all dead if you're eating her food. No, it was just so good to me. Like, stop lying. Like,
no, it really makes no sense. And I honestly, speaking of that conversation between Betty and Virginia, I love that Betty's calling her out on it because she's speaking from experience. Remember, Betty's whole first marriage was a lie. A total lie. So it's like you would think that Virginia would listen to this woman who's literally been through this. Like,
but does Virginia listen to anybody?
You're right.
No,
what am I saying?
Virginia's the friend that everyone has that we know is a habitual liar, and we just indulge them, and we're just like, okay.
Oh, you don't have a friend that just like you just go, oh, okay, you know.
I mean,
they're saying.
Everybody does.
Yeah.
Everyone does. There's always one.
You're just
but no, it's like. It's funny because then as Betty and Virginia are in the kitchen having this conversation, the party starts to die down because it's time to pick coats.
Time to get freaking.
And I think this is when it kind of dawns on, at least Lester for this matter, that they're at a freaking swingers party and Lester is still confused.
I know, but I feel like they're being so naive. I think it was it wasn't obvious, but it was kind of like.
I mean, but maybe for the time. I feel like today we know, but like they didn't have like Google or
maybe it's outsiders looking in.
Yeah.
Well, I have to confess that before this episode, I'd heard of swinger parties, but I didn't know that coats and keys were a thing because I couldn't understand why they named this episode that until we got kind of more in depth, and then we were talking a little bit before while we were watching it, and I was like, what's the whole thing with the keys?
Right.
And we were kind of just talking about how most swinger parties actually
work. So it's like you put your keys in a bowl,
yeah,
and then like a guy or a girl will go and pick up the keys, and then whoever is the so if I was a husband picking up the keys, whatever wife was attached to those keys.
Yeah, in my mind, I feel like this is playing with the gun with one bullet in the barrel.
And Russian roulette.
I'm not playing.
Well, that's what Betty called it. She was like, "This is sex roulette."
Yeah, no. It is. Well, unless you lose, like
I need
Lester.
some guarantees, right? right?
Because Lester picked up the girl.
I want to go find Lester and give him a hug. So it's Lester's turn. She was a scum.
She was so rude.
It was Lester's turn. He grabs this woman's coat that he had already bit her ear off about the woes of his marriage. Right. So I wouldn't have wanted to go home with him either. Valid. But she looks like she's about to start crying when she realizes that Lester grabs her coat. Could you imagine being Lester?
Well, the thing, Lester being the sweet guy he is, he goes, "No, it's okay. You can take a pass."
But then runs off like he's fine to go cry.
Yeah,
because his feelings were hurt, but his wife is awful quirky.
I know, but hey,
he got some cocoa in his milk, and Lester ain't gonna be right.
He's okay
ever again.
That's true.
Go Boo.
Everybody wants a little chocolate once in a while.
I ain't mad at it.
Can we just dive into that? I'm so. Oh, did we even learn her name? What was her name?
No, we don't even know the mystery woman's name.
But she was such a boss.
I'm gonna call her Foxy Brown.
Foxy Brown.
Yeah. Okay, that's all. We'll name her for now.
She was. I'm sure this is not the last we've seen him.
I mean, he has her. She left her number on the window.
Right on the window.
So classy.
And Foxy tells it like it is. She's like, "Listen, I heard you all party. Like, even if I wanted to avoid your voice, I couldn't.
Yeah, like,
you were just breaking out the crowd with like the poor me.
The whole time.
The whole party.
But no, you can't. I'm not gonna say poor Lester anymore because he, at the end of the night, he won.
And maybe that's what he needed to hear.
Okay. Sorry.
That's he just, he heard what he needed to hear, and she just walked out on him, told him how it is, and then it was all love from there.
But did we see the game that Lester spit to Foxy Brown though?
I know,
finally. He was like, well, we should do this.
You're a rebel, or you should make your first rebellious act with me. I'm here. Let's do this. And it was like all spit and game. Yeah. I'm like, good, especially because he just cried and she found him crying. And
real
then,
suave, right? So suave, Lester. Good. And okay, so those two end up together by accident, obviously not by the draw of the keys,
right?
But so they were drawing coats in the house, and I feel like, although it's supposed to be random, I think a lot of people were purposely drawing certain coats. So we knew Nancy and one of the brothers, he wanted to end up with her. Yeah, was it one of the brothers?
No, it wasn't one of the brothers.
It was just another guy.
Another guy wearing an ugly sweater.
Right. Yes.
Okay, so everyone, I just automatically assumed because he had a green ass sweater on, I didn't know who it was. So he purposely pulls for Nancy, and Art obviously pulls for Virginia.
Right.
Which I thought she knew to begin with, because I thought it was pretty obvious, but we found out later that she didn't realize that he purposely pulled her jacket.
Yeah, which was interesting to me because I was like, how could you not know? Like, I feel like the way he did it, and like, it feels like this entire time he's been like laying little Easter eggs of like, there's something else here.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think I was confused that she didn't understand, because it was like, the way he talks to her, it's always like a roundabout way of sounding like he's into her. So I'm like, obviously he's gonna pick her coat.
Well,
no,
I think this is me as a therapist. I would think she would be the best case study for a disorder of some sort, and I would want to get to know her a little bit more too.
Yeah.
Like I feel like the things that he said to her have been very like wanting to like open her brain up a little bit more, to kind of understand a little bit like why she does the things that she does. Like if we remember last episode, kind of how he was talking to her when he was putting on her coat.
Yeah.
When they were leaving the bar.
A little foreshadow.
And so he was really trying to understand, like, why are you so okay with going home with a different guy every night? And they're interrupted by the guy basically saying, no, you're not coming in here and stealing this chick. Like, tonight is mine. My night with her.
So that would lead into the conversation that that Virginia and Art have while they're hooking up. They're not hooking up, but like they get the coats and they're into the room together. They have a conversation about what it's like to hook up with your boss. So would you say that this is him kind of taking notes on the side, like do you think that this was all Art's plan? Because Nancy's in the other room actually hooking on. Yes. So I'm saying, do you think that this was a part of his plan? Like, he's the mastermind and he's like, I want to understand you more, so he's doing it.
A part of me really does feel like this was like all a ploy just to get her to open up a little bit more, because if you think about it, how most manipulators work is they lay down a foundation of being vulnerable so that you'll open up and be vulnerable so that they can skew the conversation the way that they want them to. And so I thought it was interesting how it just so happens that Art and Nancy are in adjacent rooms.
Right.
That you can hear Nancy like moaning the entire time, and he's opening up about how he's not comfortable in this relationship, like kind of setting the stage for Virginia to be vulnerable in her speech to Art about, you know, her insecurities and her shortcomings that she felt like Bill overlooked, and kind of built her up into you know, the woman that we see now.
Right.
And so I thought that was interesting, and I'm like, I don't know if it was by, you know, pure circumstance and he is being genuine, or if this was what he wanted all along, was to get her to truly open up to him about what it was that, you know, made her fall for Bill.
Right.
That's
but
exactly
the
what I was
speech was
thinking.
amazing.
Oh, it was.
It was, but it made me think the whole entire time that Art was like confessing of how his feelings about his marriage. I couldn't help, like, I didn't know if he was being genuine or not, if he was being truthful.
And even like a side note to that, or I guess more evidence to back that up, will be we saw everyone else and where they went when they went to go be with someone else. We have an idea of what we think Nancy was doing, but we never actually saw Nancy with the other guy.
Yeah.
We know they got paired together, and we presume that they were in the other room having sex, but how do we know that it wasn't Nancy just in there doing it because she knew it would help Art's case?
It did mirror to
I think we
the
clipped
door
to her
slamming
once.
and
Did we?
them kissing.
Okay, then maybe
once
okay.
the
Just
door
like
shut.
making
Okay,
out.
It was
okay,
really
okay.
quick. Yeah, it was just them making
Okay, then
out.
maybe because
You could almost not even tell that it was her, and you just see that sweater, and you're like, oh, could be any other dude.
Yeah.
But
Okay, well then I'll take
yeah.
that.
So, do you guys want to get into the speech, Domonique? I know you really,
The
really
speech
had a
was
feeling
just
for that.
The speech was just really interesting to me because I feel like it finally opened our eyes to seeing inside of like Virginia's mind and her thought process and like how everything went down with her and Bill. And so it all starts with Art kind of like laying the foundation, like, well, how would it happen with you you randomly like getting with your boss or your employer? And she was like, it's subtle, you know. At first it starts with, you know, a pass here and a pass there, and it kind of being shot down, and then it goes into something deeper where you find a common passion and you kind of throw yourselves into it. And then she goes to a very like vulnerable place, and she starts talking about like how her boss wanted her to feel equal to him, and she wasn't, because she wasn't smart enough. She didn't have the looks, and she had slept around with a lot of other people, but he still, you know, found value in her almost.
Right.
And it was this very profound, like, where you are very honest and open with your shortcomings, and you understand that this person has truly helped you to become the more confident in some aspects of your life, but even more damaged in other parts of your life, which was really, really interesting, because in the parallel to Bill, I think he's still the one that comes out of this entire situation winning at the end of the day. Like, whereas Virginia was built up and she now has this equal partnership with Bill, Bill now has the social ability to actually interact with individuals in a manner that he never was able to before.
Right.
Now Virginia's broken to the point where she doesn't even know how to love. Like when we were joking around a little bit a while ago, where she had made that comment about how every guy she's ever been with has always loved her more. And she paused for a second, like, I'm not trying to be boastful in that. I felt like she was kind of trying to allude to the fact like she's not capable of loving.
Right. It was more of a knock at herself, not the other guys.
Yeah. And so I thought that was really profound. Like, we've always just been thinking she was like really promiscuous, but I feel like there's so much more deeper underlining as to why Virginia does the she just acts the way she acts when it comes to men. And so I would love for us to kind of like, I know they showed her parents a little bit last season, but I would really love to kind of like learn a little bit more, like her backstory, like why is she the way she is when it comes to guys.
And this, I mean, this is the first time that we ever see her open up. This whole entire time we were just we were making assumptions on why she was like choosing the path, why she was making the actions, making the choices and the actions that she was making. But I do think, I mean, it really did take a therapist for her to open up, not necessarily in the most professional setting, but like it happened, and for once Virginia was the only one that was not getting down in the whole entire house.
That was kind of cool to see. I mean, even though it was manipulation, it was like, whoa, Virginia, like of all people, like. But one interesting thing that happened, or one thing that Art said that I thought stood out, was when he goes, "You never pretend to be someone that you're not." And he said that to Virginia, and it just made me question him and Nancy even more, because like I know we have an idea of who they are, but like I feel like while he was trying to get her to be vulnerable about her pretending, I think he was also opening up a little bit about himself and being like, oh, you've never like kind of like giving that out there, because he is definitely there's still, I know that we are slowly unshathing them, is that the right word?
I guess
taking the layers off of Nancy and Art, and I just feel like the more they talk, the more monologues they have with Bill and Virginia, like they're pretending. And I just feel like there's more and more to them. Right. It kind of scares me, because
that's why I almost couldn't tell. Like, it could go as he was being genuine, and you could tell he kind of wanted to open up to Virginia and finally just let her know by dropping hints like that, asking if you ever pretend. But then also, I wasn't sure if he was saying things just for the sake of making her.
I feel like it's a manipulation. Yeah. I totally feel like it's a manipulation.
But it could go either. Yeah, it could go either way. So I don't really know. I'll be interested to see how that plays out for sure. So aside from Virginia, we see what Bill is up to.
Wow, Bill.
That's all I gotta say is wow.
Crazy. Bill comes to the party after his kids are missing, which, can we just talk about the fact that the children are everybody's kids are always
kids,
like,
they're just
where are the
always
kids?
missing.
Like, no, all the children I feel
horrible
bad for.
Parenting. Do not watch this show if you're looking for parenting advice. It's not what this show is for.
So Bill shows up to the party looking for Libby, because Libby knows where the kids are. They end up getting into an argument and going home together. And then Libby.
Libby was turned. She had smoked a little J with her friend Mike. Yeah, she may have had a few cocktails, but either way, the girl was stumbling out of the party.
And you know what I thought was funny is her conversation with Mike was about being best friends with her ex, and she's like, "Oh yeah, like we're friends," and then he comes storming in, and they're just going off at each other, fighting
at the party,
in the middle of the party,
in front of Mike.
Yeah.
But anyway, and so they go outside, and I thought Bill was being kind of sweet, because obviously Libby was too turned up to be driving home, and he was looking out for her, and I don't know, that was sort of sweet. And so they ended up home together.
Yes, I loved it. I just loved how like Bill was like, let's cut the crap. Like I don't want to continue to like argue with you. I don't want to continue to have this like, hatred towards each other, because when it comes to Bill, I feel like although we've seen the evolution of Libby, she's still really bitter about their marriage.
Oh, 100%.
And so he finally was like, what is it going to take for, us to get to a point where we can at least be cordial? And Libby's answer, my mouth was open for a good 2 minutes, because I just did not see that going
I feel like she was being petty about it. I think she said it as like, not a joke, but as like, I'm just going to say this.
Bill.
Right. And then Bill is like,
well, come on.
Okay.
Right?
And so like they go at it, and it's just like, oh wow. And at first it's just all about Libby's pleasure. Yeah. So it wasn't even about like let's have makeup sex. It was like, fine, I'm doing this to please you, because this is something we've never done.
Right.
And then it turns into like, oh, they actually are kind of having this moment of reconciliation, and it's like, okay.
No, Libby said, don't get beside yourself. That's what Libby said.
She was being such a boss about it, but I couldn't tell if she was like was she like fronting? I don't know.
I think it was all a front, because she went off on this whole thing about being best friends with your ex. Like, she's still hung up on Bill. She's so hung up on him.
Well, she wouldn't be acting so petty if she wasn't hung up on him.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I think it's all her being petty. Yeah, so I definitely feel like, not that they're going to get back together, but that is in the back of her head. It's something that she doesn't want to admit to herself, but she totally wants to still be with him. Because I think at the end of the day, she still has this idea of what she thought her life would be like, and how she would have this happy, perfect home. And that is still a goal of hers. And I think that while she's exploring this independent and self-righteous Libby, at the end of the day, she still wants to be that Betty homemaker. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
She still wants to be that woman.
And I mean, every experience anything that you experience contributes to like who you are as a person.
Right.
And Bill and Libby at the beginning of their relationship were two totally different people than who they are now. They've gone through it and gone through it again, and I don't know. I mean, maybe since they're both more experienced and more like went through some more things, that they could end up nicely together. I mean, we saw them getting along, eating pickles together.
Yeah, it was
like they
cute.
were getting along.
I thought it was cute.
I thought it was really cute, but I thought what was really awesome is that they've learned how to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And I think I've said that so many times throughout, the different seasons of this show. If they could just talk to each other, like, there were scenes like really early on of them having sex, and it was the most dry.
It was like, polite horrible sex, according
like
to Libby. It was very polite.
Very polite sex, but they both wanted something more, but couldn't communicate that that's what they wanted. So I loved how early in the episode, after Virginia and Bill were talking to the couple that came back in for another session after, the whole like butt slapping last episode, how they, Virginia was like, yeah, basically kind of like she doesn't see this marriage like basically going anywhere after. And Bill's like, it could, if they can be honest enough with each other and move forward and get to another place of intimacy. And Virginia was like, if you think so, like very sarcastic about it, I'll book them another session. And Bill, I loved how Bill is like turned this whole new leaf of like, yeah, things can change. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, Bill.
It's almost like foreshadowing.
Because it does. I think it all comes full circle at the end, where you see Virginia knock on the door with Libby's coat, expecting Libby, and Bill answers the door. Obviously, she's shook. And so you see this moment where it's like, I feel like she's like playing this last card where she's like, oh, I'm going to tell you about me and Dan. And he goes, I know.
Right. Dude, we were all like freaking out at the last scene because I don't know. I think we were all hating on Bill for a while there because he was just being a jerk. And finally, like, the tables have turned, and I was rooting for Bill. I was happy at how he handled it because Virginia thought she was about to drop a bomb on him. Like, she was anticipating this, and then he was just like, yeah, I'll see you at the office.
Right.
Bye.
And sorry.
So did you guys think that I'll just tell you what I think. I feel like she only said that because Bill opens the door at Libby's home in his boxers.
Oh, yeah.
Like, she was getting ready to walk away, and then she randomly wants to turn around like this last-ditch effort.
Mm-hmm. Well, she felt she was probably she probably pictured the way that she would, because she would have to tell him eventually, and she probably... Obviously, she didn't picture that circumstance having to tell him. So it was a spontaneous act to just drop it on him like that. But one, she didn't expect to do it like that. Two, she did not expect that answer back,
I just feel like it's almost like Bill is growing. Like, I feel like Bill went to that point where he was in a dark space, and now he is coming through that, and he is becoming a better person. And Virginia is like
opposite.
Not, and like him saying things can get better if you're honest. And I feel like Bill is finally being honest, and like, so he had that conversation with Libby where he was honest, and he's just literally saying what he feels and what is truly him. And Virginia's still stuck in this let's lie. And that, I think that it shows who's growing and who's not, because Libby is stuck in her Virginia is stuck in her lies, and she can't win.
I wonder if we're going to see that transformation within Virginia. Like, I'm sure something miraculous has to happen within Virginia, because I mean, if history is really going to play in this show, we know that they end up, together in real life. Right. So it's like, what's going to be that change of the guard? Like, what is it going to take for Virginia to have that moment where she does begin to be a little bit more honest with herself and they come back together? I don't know if we're going to see that this season, but I'm interested to see what it's going to take, because I feel like for Virginia, it's going to be something like she needs like a drastic shake.
Huge.
So I think, we're not at predictions yet.
Well, we can be on predictions.
My prediction
Let's
is
drop
that
the predictions. We gotta wait for the light.
I know. I was so ready for this.
Lay it on us.
My prediction is that what it's going to take for Virginia to get her life together is Bill and Libby getting back together.
Oh, really?
Well, I mean, that's what it took for her to.
I know, but like real deal together.
So.
See, okay, what I think is gonna happen.
And I think Libby might come for her neck.
Oh, do you think that they'll stay friends, or do you think that this is gonna be the end of the Libby?
For sure.
Oh, they will be. Oh, it will end their friendship.
I think if Libby and Bill really do try to make a go of like being back together, Virginia's gonna be a hater. And Libby's gonna come for her ass, and I cannot wait for it.
Well, because Libby she has nothing to lose anymore. She does not care.
Let's do it.
No bars.
Does not care.
See, okay, what I think is gonna happen, I feel like it's gonna be whatever Nancy and Art have planned. I feel like they're gonna be the reason at the end. I think that something drastic is gonna come from their discovery, and it's gonna make Virginia so shell shocked that it pushes her and Bill together. Because I feel like Nancy and Art have something planned, and it's gonna try to destroy their company.
Yeah,
I think that. Yeah, that's it. And I think through the destruction of their company, Bill and Virginia are gonna have to grow together. Okay. So that's where I think. I do think that Libby and Bill getting back together is gonna shake Virginia. I think she's not gonna take that well. No. But I feel like whatever Nancy and Art have planned, I feel like they're the villains of this season, and whatever they have coming is honestly. Do you think that they're a part of the investigation?
No.
You don't? Okay.
No.
That would be interesting, though. I didn't think of that.
I guess they haven't asked any questions about it, but I'm like, maybe they are. I don't know. I just don't trust them.
I still don't trust them.
Yeah. I definitely don't trust them, especially after Art's conversation with Virginia, but their motive is still extremely unclear to me. I just don't get what it is that they're going for. But it does make sense that in order for this whole entire research and company to survive, Bill and Virginia are going to have to become a team again.
Right, right.
And because they're going to have to become a team in order to keep stuff together, they just are going to fall in love again, and everything's going to be great.
Yeah.
I do. I am excited to see them come back together as a stronger couple. But we'll see.
Yeah.
Virginia's crazy right now, so.
And I guess I was the only one really questioning whether Art and Nancy were married, but he called he called her his wife
more than once.
Okay, so
oh, and wait, before we end this, there was a phone call for Virginia.
Oh,
do you think that means anything?
Because
I was hoping that it was Dan. Like, I'm seriously hoping that Dan called the office and was trying to leave her a message.
But I guess Dan didn't send his wife, but his actual wife or ex-wife who's there. Yeah, so
he has to come up eventually. There's no way that he's out of this picture.
Writing it out like that. Well, I don't know.
We still haven't gotten to the bottom of why one, she's keeping up this charade, and two, why she decided not to go through with the marriage in the first place.
Yeah.
She gave a story, but part of me feels like that wasn't that felt like just something to say. So yeah, maybe I am interested in that. Also, I mean, we didn't really touch on Betty. Betty not went home with in a sexual way, but went home with this new character, Guy, spelled G-U-Y.
His name is Guy.
So Betty brought Guy to the office, and I'm presuming that they slept in these separate office beds. Yeah. But I feel like that's important. I don't feel like they would just introduce his character and then have him answer the phone that way. I feel like he's about to be tied into the show in some way. I don't know in what manner, but I feel like that's not a throwaway. And I feel like something's going to happen with him. Don't know,
what's our favorite provost's name?
Scully?
Maybe this is Scully's long lost love.
We haven't seen Scully. He is gone. But I thought he ran away with oh boy. No? Okay, well. Maybe, possible, very possible. I mean,
I don't know. I just would like for him to find love too.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened with him.
He just kind of went away.
So
he kind of just
disappeared. Maybe he and Guy.
Yeah, him and Guy.
We're gonna call him
Guy.
Well, Guy is more fancy.
It is. Before we go, also, I have a random question. So, like, because swingers were a part of this episode, I don't think I could do that. I don't think I could go to a swingers party. I think that would scare me. What I don't know.
You have to be like, it's a lifestyle choice.
It's hilarious. I ended up at a swingers party Halloween 3 years ago.
No, you didn't.
No, I did.
How did that go?
It was a first date.
Pause.
No, yeah,
pause.
I got the story for you guys. So I go on a first date with this girl. We're hanging out in Hollywood at this cafe for like 4 hours, and then we're like, you know what? It's Halloween. Let's go hit up some parties. So she's like, all right, I know a few house parties.
Hot.
So we go to one party, then hit up another one. Then by the third party, we could drive up to this house, and we go in there like passing out masquerade masks, and we're like, damn, this is kind of cool.
Yes.
And the guy at the door is like, you know what this is, right? And she's like, yeah, it's a house party. He's like, I mean, all right, I'll let you guys in. It's cool. So we go in, and we're like, oh, that's weird. They have like a basket of condoms on the counter. And it's like this really, really, really nice house in Mount Olympus in Beverly Hills. And we're walking around, and it's just like a normal Halloween party because already people are always in skimpy outfits. So we don't.
Yes.
It's like lingerie everywhere. We're like, all right. I mean, this is just like a Beverly Hills Halloween party. Until we went out to the pool, and we're walking around the pool, and we go up a staircase out in the garden area, and we take a last step up the staircase, and there's just somebody pounding someone from behind doggy style at the top of the staircase. And she screamed. It was the funniest thing ever.
Why would they just be doing that out in the open? Like,
because it's a swingers party.
It's a swingers party.
I thought you went home. I didn't realize you did it in the open.
No, like people.
Oh my God, no! You go
some
home with your significant other after.
No, it's like people do it in the open. There's like there was rooms where you could have privacy, or there was a room where everyone could watch.
Orgy.
Oh my!
And there was like a dungeon. It was like. She was so freaked out, and it's like, man, this is a funny Hollywood story. I was like, wow, I'm going to be talking about this.
You're going to tell this story for years, but the real question is, did you stay?
Yeah.
No, we both left, and then I was like, man, I kind of want to go back.
We left.
See,
okay,
we were questioning like, do swinger parties still exist?
Yes, and
now that
we
we have Tinder and everything, but I guess.
They do. She knew the door guy, so we got in for free, but it was like $100 a ticket otherwise.
Oh wow!
Well, that'd be a very high-profile swingers party. That's cool. Oh wow!
Interesting.
I feel like, am I not cool enough? Like I've never been to one.
I mean, I don't know.
The crazy thing is, like, I don't know if I want to go to one, but I feel like
it'd be nice to be invited,
right?
But also, like, I feel like I would be like so nervous to like because
no, I would not.
You don't have any.
Go.
You have to have like. I would want your test results. Like, no, I'm legitimate. I'm like, I want your results. Please.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, but okay, cool. Wow.
To each his own. I mean,
the more you know.
It's what you know.
The more you know.
Whatever makes you happy.
Shooting star.
Right.
Somewhere a star is shooting.
Okay, guys, are you ready to wrap this up?
Yeah.
This has been honestly the best episode
this season,
and I can't wait to see what happens next week. But for now, I'm your lead host, Olivia Gabaree, and don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Twitter at @thereal_O_G. And Ryan with 2 N's.
The real orgy? What?
Yeah,
the real orgy. I'm Ryann Graham. You can follow me on Twitter at Ryann Graham and on Instagram at Instagram.
And I'm your favorite host tonight, Domonique. On all my name is Domonique. For me to go to bed, but you can follow me on all social media at DomoniqueP_ESQ.
Hey, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.